WTAJ, your news leader, is proud to present Hispanic Heritage, showcasing the histories, cultures, and contributions of Hispanic Americans. Now, here are your hosts, Amanda Kenny and Matt Alvarez.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month.
Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to celebrate communities rich with culture, influencing the people we meet, the food we enjoy, and art spanning the globe.
We'll have all of that today, including a story of perseverance from our own backyard. But first, what does it mean to celebrate Hispanic culture? That's the question one Central Texas woman asked in an effort to uncover her family tree and discovered they were actually a part of her county's history. That's right. Tahara Rahman reports how the discovery led her to preserve other untold stories.
This is all part of Gina Rogers' family history.
This is one of his sons, Felipe.
That she didn't know about until a few years ago.
And when my dad passed away, I asked the question, where was Daddy born?
One question that would guide her next 5 years.
It was not much long after that tons of documents and records surfaced. This is the first deed.
Her great-great-grandfather, Victoriano Alba, bought 160 acres in Dripping Springs in 1903, becoming one of the first Hispanic families in the area.
They were some of the first persons who helped to create the St. Martin's de Porres Catholic Church in Dripping Springs. They had donated land for a school.
John Mckiernan Gonzalez has been studying Southwest history for 25 years. He says more interesting than the Alba family's early roots is their persistence.
It's a really interesting interplay between a family story and a place's story.
Gonzalez says some Texas towns didn't want Black or Hispanic families as neighbors. Many of them were driven out by increasing property taxes. Sometimes, he says, these families of color were even driven out by terror.
Records that say that sort of like sheriff offices and real estate investors said it's cheaper to buy from the widow than from the man. So the connection between terror and land dispossession.
Still, the Alba Ranch remained in the family for more than a century. At one point, the Albas owned about 1,000 acres. It's all become more than family history. In January, the Texas Historical Commission approved the Alba Ranch as an undertold story. That means it fills a gap in state history.
A lot of Tejano families are tired of not seeing themselves in the story of Texas. It's about time to sort of like get the kind of public memory and public recognition that the work the families put into being in Hays County.
They were not even a footnote in history. That's really the reality of it.
Now on the Hays County Historical Commission herself, Rogers is working on more marker applications to make sure other Hispanic people, families, and places don't vanish once they're gone.
Rediscovered him, and he won't be lost again.
Now, many other Hispanic communities around the country are doing their part to ensure their heritage isn't lost to time, including in Oklahoma. Friars of the Carmelite Order, ousted by the Mexican Revolution, arrived in Oklahoma City a century ago, hoping to rebuild in America, with the need for Spanish-speaking clergy in an area flooded with immigrants. They built Our Lady of Mount Carmel and St. Teresa, nicknamed the Little Flower. Despite their exile and threats from the KKK to burn the church down, the chapel thrived.
We were the first ones really to minister, and this is the church for the Hispanics from the very beginning.
Little Flower remains as the oldest Hispanic parish in Oklahoma, and today one of 44 churches with a mass in Spanish. The Oklahoma City Diocese is now 54% Hispanic.
And Tampa, Florida is paying tribute to another unique tradition that helped local workers stay informed by building a museum featuring the El Lector.
Tú que imitaste la llorosa vida que tuve.
In cigar factories during the early 1900s, the El Lector would read the daily newspaper and popular literature aloud to workers whose minds would often drift while rolling hundreds of cigars. He'd earn up to a quarter a day from each of them and leave a lasting impact beyond the typical workday.
You had to be well read, you had to be able to be very dramatic, and you had to know what you were doing, and you had to really be a bit of a lobbyist.
Lectors weren't left without controversy. The reading of left-leaning articles angered some factory owners. Between that and the introduction of machinery, the Lector was gone by the 1930s. The museum is being built by the J.C. Newman Cigar Company, which aims to preserve the rich history of cigar rolling.
The Hispanic population in the United States is growing.
And for the millions living in our nation, keeping to their traditions of their home country is a priority.
That's right, but it can be a challenge, especially when growing up in two different cultures.
How do you say your name? Marilyn or
Marilyn? So it's in Spanish, it's Marilyn, but here everyone just reads it Marilyn.
Are you okay with that? Is that how you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it now, and like I like it, so it's okay. I like it both ways.
Marilyn was 10 years old when she and her family moved from Venezuela to Missouri. Without knowing proficient English, she struggled to understand anyone around her, including her teachers. But after living in America, Marilyn says experiencing both cultures actually helped her keep to her roots while growing from new experiences.
I'm always grateful that I get to know both languages and cultures.
The Census Bureau estimates there were roughly 60.6 million people who identify as Hispanic in the country as of 2019, making up 18% of the total population. And we have so much more for you in store today, including a look at how communities are breaking barriers to make sure no one is left behind.
And dishing out delicacies sure to make your mouth water. We'll hear from restaurant owners and entrepreneurs, including one in our own backyard.
Welcome back. How can you reach out to everyone when everyone may not be able to speak the same language? Finding ways to inform the community, ensuring everyone stays on the same page, can be difficult if you have to break the language barrier. That's why Joe Arce, a news veteran with 5 decades of experience, spearheads the KC Hispanic newspaper, publishing stories in English and Spanish to connect both worlds. The paper is published weekly, holding a readership of 35,000 per issue. The publication collects lots of local praise, but Arce says it's about much more than the numbers.
Oh, they love it. They love it because they get the information that they need. And so often, mainstream media, sometimes they don't cover the Latino community on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and so we have to be that vehicle to get that information out to them.
I love seeing the paper when it comes out and seeing the big headline stories, right, that are being translated so that people who speak Spanish can understand.
Even emergency crews work to break the language barrier, ensuring anyone can get the treatment they need in any situation. Al Ludwig of the Knoxville Fire Department learned Spanish during his time in high school, a skill that's grown to be essential for his job and become a distinguished member of the community.
We go on a scene and the paramedic doesn't know Spanish, so they don't know what's going on necessarily. You can see that someone's in pain, obviously, or something, but you don't know why. So I'm able to come in and say, where does it hurt? What type of pain is it? Do you have a history of something maybe we need to know about? Things like that. So it makes it go a lot quicker.
And having somebody like Al that's able to speak their language and direct them or ask them questions is a great asset.
And another way Al helped break down the communication barrier is by assisting in the creation of these placards that crews can use to help diagnose a problem.
A man with an entrepreneurial spirit turned his dream into reality while also providing for others. During his last year at Wichita State University, Eddie Sandoval was struggling to find a job, so he decided to start his own business from his garage. He wanted to make products made from the pinole blue, a nutrient-rich ground corn used in tortillas and baked goods, a staple to his family. A few days later, he loaded a half a ton of corn into the back of his pickup truck.
My mom thought it was the craziest, almost dumbest idea. They couldn't believe, I was about to graduate with a finance degree. I came full ride scholarship to Wichita State. I'd interned at some big companies, and I was gonna give it all up just to be grinding corn the rest of my life.
For 2 years, Eddie drove store to store trying to make sales. 4 years later, his pinole blue products are sold in 300 locations across 18 states and shipped nationwide. He says his heritage motivated him to work hard and give back by donating part of his proceeds to the area.
Now, some have dedicated their lives to speaking up for others who feel their voice isn't heard.
Yeah, take labor icon and civil rights activist Dolores Huerta, for example. At 90 years old, she is showing no signs of slowing down.
Best known as co-founder of the United Farm Workers Union in Delano, Huerta has grown into national prominence. Jose Gaspar shares her story.
Sí se puede, sí This was the rallying cry by labor activist Dolores Huerta when organizing farm workers as they struck for better working conditions in the 60s and 70s. What motivates you now?
Well, there is so much work that still needs to be done. We have so many people to reach and empower them so that they can understand that they, within themselves, that they have the power to change things.
She's inspired to see young people getting involved in issues to improve their communities through peaceful means.
My philosophy has always been one of nonviolence, and I do believe that we can make changes without using any kind of violence.
Her efforts have not gone unnoticed. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award in 2012, and this year was named as one of the 100 Women of the Year by Time magazine.
We are so dependent on each other that this is not a time to promote any kind of racial hatred, you know, and even against police, you know. I used to be a deputy sheriff, Jose. I don't think you knew that.
That was in the 1950s when she worked for 2 years, she said, for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office.
My job was to do the lineup. You know, as people came through the lineup, I had to take all of their information down. And it was very painful to see some of my friends going through the lineup.
Despite today's deep political divide, Dolores Huerta remains an optimist.
So we kind of have to go back to basics, right? You know, like say, love your neighbor as you do yourself.
Great advice there. Well, still to come, an incredible story of perseverance here in our own backyard, what this local restaurant owner had to overcome to pursue his dream.
Welcome back. Well, you'd think during the middle of a pandemic, it'd be pretty difficult to open up a brand new restaurant.
Yeah, but that didn't stop one Johnstown native from taking up the challenge as he put his love for Cuban comfort food to the test with his new cafe.
It's almost like every Cuban. You come here, you want something, you work hard for it, and you get it.
Tico Ortega is serving up the only authentic Cuban cuisine.
Everything's from scratch.
In central PA.
I've been planning this for 4 years, but I had to take steps, you know. Hustling the food, first of all. To get a name, there ain't no Cuban food out here. So I had to make a name for the Cuban food. This is my grandmother, Ada.
While he had the plan for Ortega's Cuban Cafe, he didn't expect it to happen in 2020. In February, he had neck surgery.
And I lost my job and I just dove for it. I just went all in.
And in the coming months, even a global pandemic couldn't stop him.
I'm already in too deep. I'm in too deep. Why not?
That leap of faith paid off because the food,
the flavors, it's all about flavors,
is unique, authentic, and delicious. But Tico wouldn't know.
It's one of those things you have to have a passion for, being a vegetarian, because you can't eat your own food. You just got to make it and you got to do it with passion.
He's relied on strangers to give him feedback.
I have to dive into a meat eater's mind to see what's tasteful.
To find out if his food actually tastes good.
Spent lots of money handing food out, lots of money. You know, it has to be 10 out of 10. If it ain't 10 out of 10, it won't hit my menu.
He's had lots of dishes make it to his menu and plans to add many more, as long as there's willing taste testers.
It's the love that you put into the food what makes the Cuban food.
Oh, and let me tell you, Matt, his food is so delicious, and he always puts a little bit of a twist onto it, too. It's a little different.
I cannot wait to get to Johnstown to try that food. I'm Cuban and
Yes.
Italian, so I gotta have some Cuban food.
Yes, yes, and so we talked about this because we're both Cuban, and I brought you back some food, so what'd you think?
That's right, I did have the Cuban sandwich, and it was really good. It had the Cuban flag in there as well. That was
yes,
awesome.
it did, of
Loved
course.
it.
And so what's really cool, too, I think, is that he actually will make it vegetarian style for you. Just give him a little bit of a heads up so everyone can enjoy his food. I love it. And don't forget that if you do want to visit, you can check out his restaurant on Grove Avenue in Johnstown.
Next up, one restaurant we know in South Philadelphia uses her business actually to feed her community while providing taste from around the globe. During the coronavirus pandemic, El Compadre owner Cristina Martinez found a mission to provide meals for those in need. Now, as a Mexican immigrant, Martinez also wanted to make sure people could taste food from all over the world by uniting chefs with different cultural backgrounds.
We are here every day with a lot of enthusiasm, energy, and very tired, and yet continue to love and be able to inspire many people who will support other communities that are in need.
Different cultural influence is important, and also the fact that every family, no matter what status or position in the world, should have access to amazing local chef-cooked meals. So that's what we're doing every day.
The 215 People's Alliance, an organization that helps fight racial and economic inequalities, also helps the People's Kitchen to hand out meals.
Our celebration of Hispanic heritage will continue with a look at how one woman's artwork helps her through the lifelong struggles and leads her to renowned recognition.
Welcome back. We couldn't really finish celebrating Hispanic heritage until diving into the rich art and lifestyle of the culture. It often takes different forms and is used in many ways, which some say is because of its healing qualities.
In order to manage her emotions through a family tragedy, one woman pushes forward by creating incredible artworks that have since been revered by one of the nation's top institutions. This is the story of Norma Carrillo.
Every color has some sort of meaning. For example, blue is meant to be calm, or yellow is happy.
But there wasn't much happiness in Norma Carrillo's childhood.
I was in a really dark place at one point in time because of the system and everything, and the only thing I had to look forward to was my art.
Norma and her little sisters and little brother grew up in the foster system after their parents were deported. They got split up, and she was moved more than a half dozen times.
That was my reality. That was what I knew to grow up to, and obviously I'm still struggling with it because it hurts. But I guess this way it just takes my mind off it. I started off with just a pencil and paper. That's all I had because during the time I got a lot of things taken away from me, or so it felt like I did. And I didn't really have much to hold on to, so this was something I can call mine, keep for me.
She called them her doodles, high school assignments that turned into pieces of art. One so good, it won a congressional art competition, and it is now displayed at the White House.
I was able to leave my house to go to Washington to go see my painting up there. I was excited, I was shocked, so many emotions.
There was one other constant in her life.
CASA just means Court appointed special advocate, and he was appointed to me by the court. He believed in me. He believed in me where I didn't believe in myself.
Babik Bakhtiari volunteers with the nonprofit CASA of Los Angeles. Not only did he believe in Norma, he bought her paint, brushes, canvas, anything to help her make her dreams come true.
Who would want to buy these pieces from me? I never imagined anybody wanted this, because I did this for me and for my siblings, and I had a different reason for it. I didn't expect it to go big and for people to want and ask for my work.
And just like Norma, other communities across the country use art to heal and spread positivity. Rhode Island Latino Arts brings color to the sidewalks of Providence during the pandemic. Visual artist Tamara Diaz used the sidewalk blocks to symbolize 6-foot social distancing. She says the artwork brought the community together while also spreading important messages.
A different art form in Florida is inspiring the next generation of Mexican Americans to learn more from their roots. Folklorico tells the story of Mexican heritage through vibrant outfits and intricate footwork. Now, these students learn the moves by attending 2-hour classes twice a week. In addition to staying in shape, these dancers say they're proud to express their culture. But expression goes beyond art and dance.
Yeah, one man's love for design led him to create wardrobes for some of the world's largest stars. Now, for more than half a century, Manuel Cuevas found his home behind a sewing machine. He started making his own clothes by the time he was 7 and prom dresses by the age of 12. He opened his own store where he dressed artists like Elvis, Johnny Cash, Marty Stewart, and George Jones, and he doesn't plan to stop there.
Fashion is whatever hangs in any store in the world, but style is where I live. That's where I make my things. I like style.
So it sounds like you don't plan to stop anytime soon.
Oh no, I want to die with the scissors in my hand.
Many great Hispanic artists also traverse the music industry, breaking new ground throughout the decades. Richie Valens' smash hit of 1958, La Bamba, was the first song to incorporate Spanish lyrics into rock. Many other Hispanic artists have since etched their names onto the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, including Linda Ronstadt, Mad Dog of Bruce Springs's E Street Band, Carlos Santana, and Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, and Robert Trio of Metallica. Without them and other Hispanic influencers, music wouldn't be what it is today.
Wow, a lot of cool stuff there. Now, Matt, you actually interviewed Manuel Cuevas, and there's something really interesting about the way he comes up with the designs for his jackets.
Yeah, he actually said it, and he said something like a quote like this. It's very strange, he says, but while he's sleeping, he dreams up the actual designs.
Whoa.
I mean, this guy has made jackets for a number of famous people, as we said.
Yeah, that must, what incredible talent. And so many talented Hispanics throughout the centuries, and I love that we get a chance to actually share them with you.
Yep. Thanks so much for joining us to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month.
If you want to catch all of these stories and much more, you can head to our website, wearecentralpa.com, and check out Hispanic Heritage Month under our news category. Have a great day.